is going to happen for you this year, KELL?
Massive year for me. You know, we know that, you know, it's my time this year, you know, to get that world title fight. You know, me and Porter, you know, set for no later than June. So, you know, once I get my hands on that title, it's coming home.
Ooh, a couple of our leading lights alongside Tris Dixon, the editor of Boxing News, who will now be supplying us with our independent ratings and rankings.
Yeah, and Boxing Monthly will be providing us with our calendar of dates, birthdays, anniversaries, and of past and present.
Plus, along with our bigger ring, we'll be bringing you a state-of-the-art screen as well to add to our set.
Tactical Corner. Will be where the fighters have their chance to assess fights, opponents, and remember the heroes that inspired them back in the day.
I'm talking of icons. We bring a touch of celebrity sparkle to your screens this week with some Hollywood A-listers. But first, which boxing names will hit the headlines in 2014? Ed Robinson sets the scene.
Winning is everything, you know, and it opens the doors. So 2014 is the start for me. February the 1st, my fight, and as long as I can keep on winning, who knows what I'll be doing next.
At world level, we have champions in Carl Froch, Scott Quigg, Stuart Hall and Ricky Burns, who competes in one of Britain's most exciting divisions and will be underdog for his March Glasgow defence against the highly regarded American Terence Crawford.
Since the fight's been announced, everybody's been writing me off again. I'm getting into this fight as the underdog, and you know, I know that that's the way it's going to be, but you know, there's no pressure on me, and because I don't look at it that way, I'm just going out there to do my thing.
Hall could face former undefeated champion Jamie McDonnell, or maybe Frank Warren's super flyweight hotshot Paul Butler.
Paul Butler is an exceptional talent. He reminds me of a young Ricky Hatton. He's exciting, but I think he's a better boxer than Ricky. You know, Ricky done fabulous in his career. If he can do half of what Ricky's done, then he'll be something special.
Hopefully public pressure forces a Froch-Groves rematch after their first controversial epic.
Carl Froch has gone quiet. Last thing I heard is that he doesn't want to give me a payday, and I'm a spoiled brat or something like that. I don't know. It's got to happen, really. It's a rematch that everyone wants to see. I want it. The only reason he wouldn't take it is that he's scared. So for a man who says he'll fight anyone, see if he lives up to those words.
And the fans would love to see Quigg in with Carl Frampton or even Kid Galahad at super bantamweight, where elsewhere Cuban master Guillermo Rigondo is desperate for a challenger to test him. Our own elite-level amateurs are gearing up for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, the first games in history where women boxers will compete.
It's back to business for me, doing what I do best, and back in the ring again. I've got the Commonwealth Games, the European Championships and the World Championships this year coming up, so I'm going to be pretty busy.
The men won't wear headguards, 30 years after they were introduced for the Los Angeles Olympics. Sam Maxwell is one contender and has the benefit of experience in the World Series of Boxing, where he met the outstanding Vasyl Lomachenko twice. The Ukrainian impressed on his debut and is set to challenge Orlando Salido for the world title in just his second official fight.
It shows how good he is that they're even considering it after 2 fights to go for a world championship, and he's capable of winning it as well, like from what everyone's seen, and that's just unreal.
Another Ukrainian, Vladimir Klitschko, is looking more dominant than ever, with Vitaly's move into politics.
It's an interesting situation at heavyweight now. I'm a big fan of the Klitschkos. I think what they've done for boxing, they should be admired. But I think Vitaly has kind of sat on the WBC pot for too long now. I'm glad that he's kind of walked away. It does potentially allow a breath of fresh air to come into the heavyweight division. I think it needs it.
The heavyweight division's getting interesting again. David Price is looking to rebuild, having now teamed up with veteran trainer of champions, Tommy Brooks, who guided Price's Olympic teammate Tony Jeffries. European champion Derek Chisora is also back in action against undefeated Ukrainian Andrei Rudenko at the Copper Box, which could lead the way to a rematch with Tyson Fury, who Frank Warren announced a deal with.
Put it this way, on my worst day, Tyson could have knocked me out, and he was in better shape than me, could have knocked me out. So what do you think is going to happen in the next fight?
You're up for it.
100%.
Rumours persist that David Haye might yet mount another assault on the heavyweight title. But injury has finally forced former world champion Darren Barker to hang up the gloves.
It's a nightmare, you know. I'm 31, but I've got hips of an 80-year-old. No, I'm good, I'm happy. I'm proud of what I achieved last year. You know, if someone would have said at the start of the previous year, you know, you'd be world champion, I'd have probably laughed at them. So I am happy.
Will the rest of Britain and Ireland's star middleweights now eventually meet, or step in to face Barker's conqueror, Felix Sturm? Will Gennady Golovkin continue his reign of terror? And will Sergio Martinez return from injury? If Barker's retired from the ring, will Brian Rose produce his own rookie ending when he challenges for a version of the World Light Middleweight title? And what of KELL Brook? Can he dethrone Sean Porter to finally realise his dream? Can the incredible Bernard Hopkins carry on defying Father Time, having turned 49 just this week? And while Adrian Broner looks to bounce back from the humbling loss to Marcus Maidana, his hero Floyd Mayweather is still being linked to a clash with Amir Khan. A fight with the resurgent Manny Pacquiao looks as far away as ever. But with the likes of Timothy Bradley, Juan Manuel Marquez, Ruslan Provodnikov, Danny Garcia and Maidana at light welterweight and welter, there are some mouth-watering matchups to be made in what looks to be a year to savour.
Tell you what, I haven't been as excited about a year for a long time. The talent out there.
I think 2013 was good. 2014 is going to be wicked. Tris, tell me, does that get you excited? 2014?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we had some fantastic fights in 2013. I think what 2014 could bring is the matches that we actually want to see. So people like Carl against Scott Quigg, KELL, who we've just been speaking about, Amir Khan. There's some really big fights out there. And, you know, it's wide open to be a really big year for us.
Dream fights for you, with the Brits involved. Let's have a look at what you've said. Tyson Fury, of course, the enigma. How good is he? Against Deontay Wilder, how good is he, the knockout king from the States?
You know, both those guys have been talking about fighting Vladimir Klitschko, and obviously the best way to decide who gets the shot is to see who wins between the two of them. You've got two unpredictable heavyweights who we haven't really learnt what their limits are yet, so perfect way to find out is to match them.
What's the possibility of any of these happening? You've got Carl Froch, George Groves next as your wish list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's, well, it's quite.
That's the one, isn't it?
It's probably the most likely, I'd say. I think it's a fight that they both want and both need for different reasons. And then Scott Quigg, Carl Frampton, we've been talking about that for a couple of years, and Carl might be better placed than me to say that.
There you go, Carl. Is it going to happen?
Well, I hope so. The last correspondence we had was Eddie Hearn made us an offer, and this is before the Darren Barker Felix Sturm fight. We said, let's talk. You all know how long ago that was, and I haven't heard anything since, but I don't know, maybe his computer's broke or his phone's broke, but...
So you're saying Eddie pick up the phone
we
can...
Pick up the phone.
Because Scott Quigg, of course, became world champion last year, so it's a hot fight,
it's a massive fight, and look, I'll fight him anywhere. Manchester, the purse doesn't even matter that much. I'll fight him anywhere, but it's about options, and I left Matchroom Sport for a reason, and if the two promoters back their fighters, then let's get it on. This is you beating a current world champion. Where are you in the world potential situation? What's happening with you? Well, honestly, I think Rigo's the top man in the division, Rigondo, and I think I'm in there behind him. I think I beat Leo Santa Cruz. I think I beat Martinez.
Who's the WBC champion.
Yeah.
And then the IBF, obviously, Kiko Martinez. But he's going to fight Hasegawa. And
yeah.
So where are you going?
Well, we're going to WBC route. We made a massive offer to Kiko Martinez. I was actually in the meeting with Barry and Sampson when the offer was made. I know what he got paid for his defence against me for the European title in Belfast, and it was 10 times that. Rematch if he wanted. I think he took the easier fight. So we go after Leo Santa Cruz now.
Okay, do you think that's going to possibly happen? You're number 4 in the world. Do you think that it's going to happen, this rematch?
The rematch with Martinez?
Yeah.
Well, no, because I don't think he wants it. And, you know, we've removed ourselves from the IBF, sort of going for the mandatory, because potentially we could be waiting to 2015 for that fight. I want a world title fight this year. Santa Cruz wants to fight me, so that's the fight I'm chasing.
He's an exciting fighter. I'd love to see that. I'd also love to see you against Sean Porter, who, of course, upset the odds, beat Devon Alexander, and now he's the one, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the one now with the title. The situation is with me, what I believe is Porter's fighting, you know, Devon again. I think they had a rematch clause in. Or they could give him a voluntary, you know. I just don't know yet, but, you know, I'm looking to get out March 15th, you know, a tune-up fight, keep busy, you know, keep active. And then, no later than June, you know, you'll see me in there fighting for the world title. How many
more tune-up fights can you have? You proved here, fighting Zinchenko, that you're there, you're ready. There's no other option apart from a world title shot. How long is too long? I know, you know, it's like, you know, with the injury with Devon, you know, myself before, you know, I've been wanting that world title for, you know, since 2013. You know, and I wanted it next, but, you know, Porter won the fight and they've given him an extension. So, you know, I have to wait a little bit longer. So I think get a fight in, you know, so, you know, to prepare me for that world title fight will be, you know, a couple of months after that.
Cal, weren't we sitting here this time last year and saying 2013 will be your year? It must have been so frustrating, but do you believe that it will finally happen for you this time?
Frustrating is not the word, that, you know, but this year I 100% believe, you know, that this is my year. You know, my last fight, Zinchenko, you know, I took him out in style, what no one else has done, you know, just proves that I belong at the top.
Tris, we were over there for Bradley Marquez. Pacquiao's still going. What a division. It's terrific, isn't it?
Yeah, it's packed, isn't it? And Porter's only added to that by upsetting Devon Alexander. But you look at Maidana, Broner, they're all big names, and the fight that all those guys want is the Mayweather fight, because that's the big money. So,
Tris, looking at that list, you've got the man sat there on your left, putting you on the spot. What are the chances of him pulling a world title out of one of those?
I think he beats Porter, providing Kell's got his head on and he's done everything he needs to do in training. I think he can beat Sean Porter. I think it might be an easier fight style-wise than the Devon Alexander fight.
Are you sitting next to 2 world champions this year, do you think?
Well, this depends on the fights, doesn't it? I mean, like Carl said himself, you know, if he fights Rigondo, he's going to be really up against it. But if he fights Santa Cruz or certainly Martinez and Scott Quigg, then you'd give him a good chance in those fights. So the same with Kell if he fights Porter, but then if he fights one of the more dominant welterweight champions, then it's going to be a really tough night.
Carl, domestically, who else to look out for from our shores?
I think there's a good crop coming through. I think Paul Butler, I think he's a very good fighter. I think Tyson Fury, although he makes a lot of noise, I think the big lad might be able to back it up. Obviously, KELL here, you know, he's knocking on the door and he has been for a while. I'm pretty sure he'll win a world title this year. There's fighters, there's plenty of fighters. David Hay, he's coming out of retirement again, so...
I like that little boomerang you threw in there. And KELL, you're in the same promotional camp as Carl Froch. You think that rematch is going to happen?
I think it has to happen, you know, from the first fight. You know, everyone's got their own opinion about it. I think there's too much money involved. I think it'll pack out any stadium you want in summer. You know, the British fans need to see that fight again. We all need to see that fight. I think, you know, it's got to happen.
That'll be the real happening of the summer. What about the heavyweight mix? Now the Klitschko's maybe sort of passing. It's the new times, and we've got Derek Chisora and David Price and possibly David Hay and Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Wow.
Well, Vitali's walked. Vladimir's now 38, and he's been talking to me about lack of motivation for the last sort of 18 months or so. We know he's a true pro, but, you know, when he's talking about finding it hard to motivate himself, you know, you wonder how long he's got left. You look at the likes of Fury, Wilder, Chisora, they're all charismatic guys, and they're going to bring a lot of attention back to the division.
Great mix, isn't it? Meanwhile, stateside, they're planning some massive fights. Let's get over to LA for Golden Boys CEO Richard Schaefer. Richard, Happy New Year. What's 2014 going to bring us?
Happy New Year to you and all the UK fight fans. As you know, I'm very pro UK fans. I love the UK. It's like my second home. And fight fans in the UK, they appreciate big fights, and that's exactly what we're doing here, and we're going to continue to do. 2013, Adam, as you know, has been one of the biggest years in the history of boxing for the US market here, and now we're going to continue with that same trend.
Richard, it's got to be the worst kept secret. Tell me, Mayweather card, is it going to happen? When is it going to happen?
We are working on that. I'm working on this very diligently. You know, Floyd Mayweather is on his own time clock, and I'm just waiting to hear back from him. But it is a fight I would love to do, because I do believe that Amir Khan has the skills to shock the world. I don't think it would be such a big shock to us, because as I always said, and I've been very consistent in that, I do believe that Amir Khan, even though he had a couple setbacks, still is one of the most skilled fighters in the world and has the potential to become the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But that, of course, leads through Mayweather, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get this fight done, and I anticipate that Floyd is going to make his choice known within the next week to 10 days.
You talk of upsets. What about Maidana and Broner at the end of last year? Is that going to happen again?
Adrian Broner had a rematch option, and he informed me last week, as a matter of fact, that he exercises that rematch option. He doesn't want to have another fight. Some people have suggested that he should maybe move to 140. Remember, he skipped the 140 division from when he went to fight at 47, Paulie Malignaggi, but he didn't want to hear anything of that sort. He said, no, I want to go and set the record straight and fight Marcos Maidana again. An extremely dangerous fight for Broner, and a very intriguing and interesting matchup. And yes, it's going to happen. I am working on dates. It's going to be sometime towards the end of April. I'm looking at 2 potential dates.
Richard, we have KELL BROOK here in the studio. Sean Porter put a spanner in the works. What's the situation there?
Well, I think that fight eventually will happen. I think Sean might do another fight before that. There is a possibility that Sean might fight Keith Thurman. So that's a possibility, which would be another very exciting matchup. So there's a lot of moving targets, but I enjoy a pretty good relationship with Eddie Hearns, KELL BROOK's promoter. So when the time comes, I am convinced that that fight will happen, and that KELL will get his title shot, which unfortunately didn't happen because of various injuries on both sides, from KELL's side and then on Devon Alexander's side as well, a year or so ago.
Sure, KELL will be delighted to hear that. Now, which young stars are going to come through from your stable, and also from Top Rank, the likes of sort of Vasyl Lomachenko, who we saw last year? Who are you looking out for to set the sport alight?
Well, you know, we have at the 140 and 147-pound weight class, we have pretty much all stars, and there's so many exciting matchups we can make, or we could really just put all names in a hat and we can pull out 2 names and you would have great fights. So there's a lot of excitement there in that weight class, but I am very high on Deontay Wilder as well, and you were talking about the heavyweights earlier in your program, and I think Deontay Wilder is certainly a threat, and I remember how warmly he was embraced by the British fight fans when he fought Audley Harrison last year, and Deontay certainly would like to come back and, has no problem fighting one of the British heavyweights you just mentioned before. So I'm very excited about Deontay Wilder. He has the skills, the charisma, the athleticism, and so on, to, I think, become a major force once the Klitschko reign is coming to an end. I'm very excited about some of the smaller guys as well, like Leo Santa Cruz, where, of course, here in the U.S., a lot of people are talking a potential matchup with Carl Frampton. So there's a lot of excitement in those weight classes as well. There's Abner Maris there as well. You have Scott Quigg over there. So there's a lot of sort of like mouth-watering matchups possible between some of the talent we have here and some of the UK talent. And I hope that 2014 we will be able to make some of those matchups happen. One other fight I'm very, very excited to virtually done. Both parties have agreed to terms, which will be another historic moment for boxing, another historic moment for Bernard Hopkins, and that is unifying the light heavyweight titles. That is his quest as he marches towards 50. Yesterday he turned 49 years old, and I was yesterday able to come to terms with Beibut Shumanov, the WBA world champion. Bernard is the IBF champion, and I'm working on 2 dates, one in the end of March, one beginning of April, to get that fight done as the first step towards becoming the undisputed light heavyweight champion, something he would like to do at the day when he turns 50 next year, which is absolutely amazing.
It is incredible. He is an absolute one-off. Thanks very much, Richard. We'll talk to you soon.
All the best. Thank you, Adam. Bye-bye.
Take care. Tris, one thing we didn't ask him, maybe we should have got that in, promoters working together. Will it ever happen? Golden Boy and Top Rank putting their eggs in that basket?
Well, the problem comes is where they've both got such large stables now that they can create the fights in-house. They're not throwing the doors open and getting all the guys in together, particularly when we look at the rankings. We saw KELL in the welterweight mix, and Richard mentioned them there about the welterweights that they've got at their disposal. Top Rank has just as formidable a stable at the same division. And, I mean, it would be great for the sport if they worked together. And, you know, even if they did a tournament with the welterweights, for instance, you know, it would be fantastic.
Same story, different attitudes. This has happened over and over in the years. And are we going to be deprived of potentially exciting matches, Mayweather, Pacquiao, if these guys don't get their heads together and do business?
Yeah, we will be deprived of them. But I think there's an inclination, more so now than the last few years, for people in boxing to start to work together a little bit more. We have seen it in drips and drabs over the last couple of years, but I think for the good of the game, it's got to happen.
Yeah, it was nice, though, hearing Richard mention both of your names and Scott Quigg as well. That gives you hope that these fights are going to be made.
It's good that they recognise us and, you know, they're taking note. And I was surprised about Porter could be fighting Thurman. You know, either also a good, you know, puncher, you know, boxer. So, you know, it's news. You don't know what's going to happen in boxing. Things keep coming.
And you were mentioned with Santa Cruz as well?
Yeah, he's publicly stated that he wants to fight me, so that's the route we're going to go. Kiko Martinez doesn't want the fight. So we'll chase Santa Cruz, and hopefully that fight can be made.
We'll wait and see. We preview Sky's first live action of 2014 after the break. It's one of Canada's biggest ever matchups as Jean Pascal and Lucien Boutet collide.
Our new calendar supplied by Boxing Monthly. Some memorable birthdays were celebrated this week. On the 15th of January, Bernard Hopkins was, 49 years old. 16th, that's today, Roy Jones is 45 years old. But, you know what, the one that stands out to me on the 17th, tomorrow, Muhammad Ali, the greatest, at 72 years old. But not forgetting, in that mix of January, on the 4th of January, a certain Johnny Nelson. Yeah, mixing with the greatest.
Yeah, but like Bernard, closer to 50 these days.
Glenn McCraw is closer to 50 than I am, so let's not forget that.
Both near that. KELL and Carl here have age on their side, while Tris has helped freshen up boxing news for the new generation of fans, all keen on seeing which wise fox will prevail in Canada this weekend. Andy Scott reports.
Despite a record-breaking deep freeze across most of the country, temperatures should be red hot in Montreal this weekend as rivals Lucien Boutet and Jean Pascal meet in one of the biggest fights in Canadian boxing history.
Every fan waiting for this fight, to see this fight, because it was two
to champion before. Now is the interesting fight for Canada.
The fight was scheduled May 25th, and Luchan got a surgery a couple of weeks before the fight was scheduled. So we plan to do the fight on January 18 in Montreal. So everything is fine. Luchan's hand is very good, is doing very well. So January 18 will be the fight that everybody was waiting for in Canada.
Both men lost their unbeaten records to KELL. In 2008, Pascal pushed the Cobra all the way in a titanic battle, eventually slipping to a points defeat. Boutte travelled to Britain in 2012 with a huge reputation and a string of stoppage victories, but was brutally demolished inside 5 rounds. The Romanian-born southpaw decided against the option of a rematch, instead moving up to light heavyweight to outpoint Russia's Denis Grachev.
Grachev looks very, very tired here, but he's put so much in, and he does look ready to go here. Boutte has saved the best for last.
Pascal also stepped up to 12 stone 7, and despite disappointing against veteran Bernard Hopkins, the former WBC king showed enough class to halt George Blades.
Just sending a little message to Lucien Boutte, and that is going to be one heck of an all-Canadian dust-up when those two get it on.
The winner may target Quebec's Adonis Superman Stevenson, who has continued to reign supreme since landing the WBC title, what is without doubt Canada's strongest division. But rumours persist of a meeting with WBO champion Sergei Kovalev in a clash of 2 huge punches.
I don't have a problem to fight Kovalev. If the money is right, no problem.
I really wish this fight. I really want this fight. Stevenson a lot of speaking, you know, like a talker. Superman can be only in cartoons.
But for Boutte and Pascal, it's a battle of hometown rivals. And with national pride at stake, it's the perfect way to get this bumper year of action underway.
Seriously good clash, isn't it?
That's going to be such a fight in Canada. It'll split the country right down the middle.
You're really looking forward to it, aren't you, Carl?
I think it's going to be a great fight. There's nothing better than 2 guys from the same country sort of going head-to-head, but I fancy Pascal in that one. I think Boutte might be on the slide. I think it'll be sort of middle rounds. You'll get rid of him.
Kel, would you agree with that? Do you think Boutte's on the slide?
I'll just go with Butte. I'll go with Butte just to split it up a bit. I think, you know, moving up in weight, I think he'll prefer that. I think he will brittle down at super middleweight, and you know, it's a great fight, you know, for Canada. It's one you need to watch.
Do you think Boutte's got plenty left after obviously what happened to him against Carl Froch?
I don't know what either of them got left, to be honest. I think that's why it's such a fascinating fight, because people are saying that Carl Froch has ruined Lucien Boutte, but then Bernard Hopkins, people haven't been the same after they've lost to him. When you look at Kelly Pavlik, Felix Trinidad, Pascal's lost to Hopkins, will he be the same guy that he was before? I think one thing that is great is we talked about fights that haven't happened, is that this is fantastic. And I spoke to Pascal last week. He called it the Mayweather-Pacquiao of Canada, which is what it is. You know, those guys are massive stars up there, and it's fantastic they've got it on.
Yeah, the atmosphere is going to be super, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be. It will be. And I mean, Boutte called it the Super Bowl, you know, the Canadian Super Bowl. So yeah, it's a massive, massive event over there.
And what about Kovalev, Stevenson? You know, the light heavyweight division still it's set afire.
That's the fight that we all want, isn't it? I mean, two terrific punchers, you know, both on you know, incredibly hot streaks of form. It's a logical fight for them to have. Both the guys from Saturday night would be after Stevenson to drag them into another big Canadian fight, but also the winner of Pascal and Boutte, both of them last week were telling me how they still want revenge on Carl Froch.
Carl, it was a tough year, of course, for Tony Bellew out in Canada, and as well as Nathan Cleverly. What do you expect from those two to come back? Will it be at cruiserweight or light heavy again?
I think they're both going to go up to cruiserweight. That's what I'm hearing. So both of them full of talent. Hopefully, you know, they can win world titles. Both of them have. Well, Cleverly's done it before. You've seen the fight with Emmons. It was a very, very close fight. Maybe another fight between them two at cruiserweight. That would be a great fight.
Do you think cruiserweight suits them? Do you think they'll fill out and be big hitters at that division?
I think so. You know, with Tony, he's a big, you know, he's a big light heavyweight. So I think it'll suit him, you know, up at cruiserweight. And I think, you know, it's destined to happen again. I think him and Cleverly, you know, to fight. They've moved up again in weight. We'll have to see how they both perform at, you know, at cruiserweight. But I think that fight could happen again.
I'm sure they will rebuild. Big names, tough fights, and is age seemingly nothing but a number? All in the air this week.
Yeah, last week we saw a couple of veteran heavyweights from the movie world.
We certainly did. Hollywood legends Robert De Niro, famous for Raging Bull, and Sylvester Stallone of Rocky legend. They're in town promoting their new movie Grudge Match. Both A-list actors have huge ties with the boxing world and were delighted to get quality time with our real talent. This star-struck group of fighters all lined up to quiz the greats.
Big fan. Really big fan. Question is, favourite all-time grudge matches in boxing?
To me, it has to be in heavyweights. I think in every division has them, but for heavyweights, it has to be, you know, the Ali Fraser thing, because I knew both of them really well. Actually, I was going to use Fraser in one of the Rockies, and in 11 seconds, that included the entire fight and the count. He came across the ring, bang, and it was it. I said, nah, I don't think, I want to use an actor instead. But
the one that I'm the most aware of is the Duran-Leonard fights. Because I'm playing now Ray Arcel, Duran's trainer. He was his trainer. I'm doing a Hands of Stone, a movie called Hands of Stone. So,
right.
And they were, you know, great fights.
The question I have is Jake LaMotta versus Rocky Balboa. Who do you think will win?
Me. Only because I'm writing the script. That's right.
Obviously, you've made so many classic boxing films. Who will you be more privileged in sharing the ring with?
Oh my God! For actual fighters, because
obviously training for the
well, believe it or not, I had sparred with Duran, I'd sparred with Ken Norton, and I sparred with Ernie Shavers, who promised not to hit me to the head, but he hit me in the shoulder, literally knocked me across the ring and out of the shot. It was a wide angle, and it was unbelievable. And I've had the misfortune of sparring with some really good guys, and they were going light on me, to get me wrong with it. One guy actually got in the ring with 22-ounce gloves, and it still hurt.
Is this the first time you've laced up the gloves since you filmed The Raging Bull?
Yeah, I mean, from time to time I would just train for the sake of it, but and actually when I started with the movie with Sylvester, he had a great trainer, a guy named Rob Sally, who trained me, and he's been working with for about 10 years, and he taught me the choreography that Sylvester created, and he was just terrific, inspiring, this guy.
We were both trying to outdo each other in training for this film.
Well, when I was training, I was training in New York, and Sylvester was in L.A., and then finally we got together in New Orleans. But he, just came in and took over the whole thing.
I couldn't wait to get him in the ring. It was like, oh, finally.
But this...
finally.
But it was good. It was great.
It was, yeah.
When and what sparked your interest in boxing?
I mean, I've always been interested since I was a kid, watching boxers. And LaMotta I would see around... he was like a bouncer in a club that I'd see him from time to time, and that's actually then when the book was sent to me, I had something I connected to him.
Always an affinity, so I started to really study the sport, because I'm not overly gifted at anything. I just understand the dynamics of it and the counter and the science and the physics of it about angles. So I'm enamored with it. I mean. I'm surprised I didn't end up marrying a referee. You know what I mean? So, I really like the sport a great deal.
Absolutely amazing, really was. And
what?
You took that?
You're talking to me?
Very good.
Those boys went weak at the knees, didn't they?
We went weak at the knees. I mean, De Niro and Stallone, absolutely brilliant. KELL, I mean, it was a day to remember, wasn't it?
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I couldn't even speak to him. After watching old Rocky films, Raging Bull, seeing him there, what I've watched for years, I was just unbelievable.
George Groves was telling me that he had a poster up of Rocky for 10 years in his bedroom, and he only took it down on the day to get Sylvester to sign it. And he knows his boxing, Stallone, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. Listening to him doing that press conference, he knows a lot about boxing, a lot.
Tris, isn't it great to have these two big stars pushing our game left, right and centre,
It does. There's always a bit of a groundswell, isn't there, when a big Hollywood flick comes. We had it with Hurricane a few years ago. We had it with The Fighter, with the Mickey Ward story. And, it's another way for casual fans to get interested in the sport, which is always a good thing.
De Niro or Stallone, who was your one?
I loved Rocky. Rocky was my hero growing up. I thought he was I used to think he was a real boxer when I was a kid, but gladly grew out of that, then started knowing the truth, but loved Rocky.
Raging Bull, great film though, no?
That's our age, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic. And so many boxing films, Tris.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rich thing for screenwriters and authors alike. You know, there's something about the sport and how visceral it is that attracts screenwriters, and they produce some brilliant stuff.
Well, Stuart Hall enjoyed a Rocky-like ending to 2013 when he became only the second world champion from the Northeast. After the break, we'll see what happened when Stuart met up with the first ever winner, a man we know pretty well. A very warm welcome back to Ringside. Now, is Tris Dixon here alongside two world champions in waiting?
Yeah, will KELL, BROOK and FRAMPTON be crowned kings in 2014?
Maybe. We had a fairy tale finish to last year when Jamie McDonnell's political misfortune became Stuart Hall's gain. It was a heroic performance which saw him outbox and out-tough Vusi Malinga.
Stuart Hall!
So how you feeling?
Feeling fresh now, eyes gone down and that.
Yeah.
Everything's all good.
Excellent, we'll get the kettle on, champ.
Yeah.
You may be world champ, but yeah, still make a cup of tea.
Yeah, keep me grounded.
I can't remember being as nervous. I was actually really nervous. It was like I was going to have to fight myself. It was weird.
Walking out, you being there was a great help. It was as if you were handing the baton to me, do you know what I mean? It helped me win it, helped me win the title. You being there, it did, honest.
Brilliant.
When I won it, look back,
I was even trying to psych the cornermen out. You know, you stare over at them. I was like, oh.
I've only watched the fight 4 times.
You've watched it 4 times?
Yeah, only 4.
Only 4? It was only 3 weeks ago or something. Cheers, mate. We've got it. Well, I hope you've got it, haven't you? You've saved it.
Yeah.
Good man. I want to see it.
On it. I was packed myself, but I was trying to listen to the advice what people were saying, like soak it up, look, enjoy the crowd, enjoy the walking.
What sort of thing was going through your mind right at this sort of period?
I'll be honest with you, I was looking at him thinking he's massive. He's massive. I thought he looks massive. I was just thinking, right, let's get out there and show him who's boss, because, like you said, a few people said it, you said it yourself, I had to go out there and stamp my authority. I showed from straight away that I should have been, I was right to be in there.
For me, this was so impressive when you come out like this.
Yeah, I caught him there, and like you say, I thought I'm going to show him who's boss now.
Well, I just have a feeling that this was you winning the fight here.
Well, I can finish him here, that's what I thought, but I didn't realise it was at the start of the round. To be honest with you, it was probably my downfall, because I started loading up, using more energy, really trying to put him away, but it's very, very hard at that level to put him away, isn't it?
That's a natural fighter's reaction. You hurt something, you've got to go for it.
He starts to try and come on strong a bit now, these like 7, 8, 9, it starts getting interesting. I think people start panicking in the crowd and that. My eye, round 9, that's when I started struggling. I think round 10, it was totally shut. And I said, I said to Mick, my eye's totally shut, and he just tells me to shut up. You're all right? He gets a bit confident and starts growing a bit in it this round, but I come right back at him.
Round 11.
Like you said, there was no stopping me. I knew he could have hit me with his kitchen sink in that last round. I was going nowhere. I knew I had to finish this round strong. Pure will, that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Come on.
That's championship stuff, mate.
Get the crowd up a bit, because I was thinking, don't worry, crowd, do you know what I mean? I'm here, man, I'm here, don't worry about me. I knew they were going to raise my arm, but like you say, there's no feeling like getting your arm raised.
Oh,
and obviously you see
and you.
Stuart Hall!
What a buzz.
And now you're going to have to listen to people say, right, what about Jamie McDonald? What do you think with all that?
I was chasing him, wasn't I? Now he's chasing me. That's the fight I've always wanted since he beat me, do you know what I mean? So that's my dream fight with Jamie McDonald. He wants it, I want it. Like you say, if it doesn't happen in the next fight, hopefully he'll be mandatory and we'll get it on.
Go on then, champ, give us a look at your belt. I've got one like this, I think. Yep, oh my word. It's a lot newer than mine.
Yeah, a lot newer than yours, but...
That's a collector's item now. There's not many of them about in the northeast, is there?
Well, there's two.
We're the only two that's got them. No, well done, mate. That's fantastic.
Crazy.
Yeah, but with the good times comes the bad, and the Bobby Prize was Glenn McCrory knocking at his door.
It was, but fair play to Glenn, though. You know, he's been the champion for so long up there, and he's so happy, isn't he, for Stuart?
You've got to give it him, and I think the northeast would have been buzzing.
It was one of the great nights of last year, wasn't it? I mean, despite what happened with Jamie McDonald, who had his great night, you know, the politics got in the way, but then Stuart had his finish.
Yeah, it was one of the best nights, and it was saved right for the end. I think it was December the 21st, and yeah, it was a fantastic night, a great fight. I mean, and Stuart Hall had to fight through some really tough circumstances because that left eye was horrific.
Well deserved for Stuart Hall, wasn't it, Kel?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, you know, he wanted that title so bad. You know, his eyes shut. And he ground down and got the fight. But, you know, I do feel sorry for Jamie. You know, I think that him and Jamie need to get it on. You know, definitely.
Do fighters all have that sort of one great night? Jamie McDonald had his last year, Darren Barker over in Atlantic City. That one moment, you remember Ricky Hatton against Stu, you know, and that was Stuart Hall's in December?
You never know. Stuart Hall, you got to give him a lot of credit. You know, you ask anyone a year ago, was he ever going to become a world champion? And 99% would say no, but Stuart Hall dug deep. He's a world champion, and you know that might spur his career on. He might, you know, put in better performances now.
Do you think if they box each other again, do you think that it'll be very different?
I think it'll be an unbelievable fight. I think it'll be better than the first one because there's a world title on the line. They'll both train so hard for that fight, and you know, that fight has to happen for me. You know, I think that with Jamie, it were funny how he got stripped. They've got history, they've boxed each other. I think they need to happen again, and Stuart said himself, you know, he's well up for that fight.
That's surely on your dream list, isn't it, as well?
Well, that one's now down to the IBF, I think. It's down to... Jamie will probably have a fight or two before it can actually happen, but I'm sure he'll be back in favour with the IBF before long, and he's certainly knocking on the door. We know both the fighters want it, we know the fans want it, so now it's up for the power brokers of the sport to make sure it happens.
Absolutely the old story. Apart from our weekly Ringside, there's plenty of other boxing support programmes and features planned for both Sky Sports and SkySports.com this year, plus some really good live action starting in the early hours of this Sunday morning. Boutte Pascal, another super Canadian card. We're back at 6 o'clock for Ringside next week, Sky Sports 1, where our most experienced world ruler, Carl Froch, will be joined by our first ever world amateur champion, Frankie Gavin. Look forward to seeing Funtime Frankie, Johnny.
Totally, I think he's an outstanding talent, potentially, but we've got some great fights coming up too.
Yeah, we do. What are we all excited about? February the 1st, we've got Lee Selby, Rendell Munro, Gavin Rees back, Anthony Joshua. February the 22nd, Luke Campbell, Tommy Coyle, and that lot up in Hull. March the 1st, Ricky Burns. It's a good list, isn't it?
There's so many big fights, and even bigger fights not to be made this year. I think the one that everyone wants probably should have happened 2 years ago, but Pacquiao Mayweather, it looks like it has a chance of happening. Fingers crossed that it comes off.
And you know, we've got Cardiff with the Joshua and Rees and Selby. That's going to be a buzzer, Kel.
It's going to be a buzzer. You know, Match will know how to put them on them shows. You know, they pack with stars Joshua. There's Campbell on. You know, start of 2014. There's already some top you know, names out there on bills.
And there's some big shows planned in Liverpool. Kell, you're on Eddie Hearn's. Frank Warren's got one, hasn't he, at Aintree as well. Paul Butler, you were mentioning earlier. The talent everywhere is great. Merseyside really buzzing.
Yeah, definitely. You've obviously got Tony Bellew, who's looking to come back from the defeat to Adonis Stevenson. You've got the Smith brothers, who've all had enormous success over the last 12 months or so. Derry Matthews continues to roll on. We'll see what he brings this year, you know, and Paul Butler, as the guys have mentioned.
Tris, out of all the fighters you're knowledgeable, who do you think is going to stand out this year?
Internationally, I probably think Gennady Golovkin is going to be the guy that everyone's going to be looking at. Domestically, I'm really interested to see the progress of Anthony Joshua at heavyweight. I think if he fights often, and if he fights, say, once every month or once every couple of months, there's no telling where he'll be at the end of the year, possibly knocking on the door for a European title.
I was going to mention Joshua. A quick line from you two. Which of the Olympians, Joshua or Campbell or Stalker or Agogo, who's going to really make a mark in 2014?
I think I like Joshua, you know, because you know, even though Campbell won gold as well, I think, you know, the heavyweight is, you know, it's made out for him.
I have to go with the big man as well. He's got the looks, he's got the knockout power, he's a great fighter.
Thanks very much, Tris. Good luck to KELL in your latest training camp, and to you, Carl. We're over in Ireland for a Ringside special in a few weeks. That'll be good.
Yeah, Irish are great fight fans, and there's a bit of a revival over there too.
Absolutely, same too in Canada. We can't wait for Butte Pascal to kick off another exciting year for us here at Sky.